to another American TESOL Presents Free Friday webinars. I am your host, Shelly Sanchez Terrell, and I am here to talk to you about engaging the parents of language learners with technology and learners in general. I'm going to give you a few tips, and thanks to American TESOL, we're here every Friday. You can find out about our online and face-to-face courses that give certifications in teaching with technology, teaching with young learners, also teaching English anywhere around the world at americantesol.com. You can find the resources today at shellyterrell.com/parents. We also have recordings on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/user/a-TESOL. You'll find over 100 recordings of various topics. One of the reasons I wanted to do this webinar was because I think it's very important that we are able to have positive and successful and effective communication with parents, especially when we're working with language learners. It's important that we're able to have our parents understand what's happening in the classroom, be able to inform them. And that can be very, very difficult when you're working with a language setting where there may be more than one language spoken. I know that in different classrooms I've had around the world, and I've taught in many different countries. I've been to 28 countries, and I've actually held classes in Germany and in the United States, in Greece, and so I've noticed that parents, more and more, you get parents who speak different languages. Even in the countries, the language that is spoken there, you would think that it would be that one language, but not necessarily. So I'm going to provide you with some tools throughout this webinar that helps you to translate and also to be able to communicate with parents who may not know English at all or have a very low level of English. The first type of communication we have, the first level, is where we inform parents. And this means that we just let them know. We don't necessarily at this point engage them much or have these deeper conversations or get them involved necessarily yet. And I think that's what these social networks do. So if you have a language institute you work for, if you have a school you work for, a lot of times, and you can write this in the chat box, does your school, does your language institute, does it have a Twitter page, a Facebook page, an Instagram, a hashtag, some kind of portal? A portal is where parents or students can go and they can log in with a password and a username, and then they're able to check grades, they're able to check, sometimes it has a calendar, they're able to check when progress reports are due, different information like that. A website, I think that the majority, probably 99% of schools have at least a website. And if your school doesn't, then I think that's definitely the first step. Also, some schools have apps. I don't think that's necessary anymore. A lot of times, as long as your school has a website that is mobile friendly, then that's fine. Parents don't necessarily need to have an app. The reason I say that is because some of your parents, they don't have a lot of data, or they don't have a lot of megabytes on their phone, and so they may not want to necessarily download an app and take that. Now different types of schools are having podcasts or a podcast, which is a video cast, and what that means is that parents are able to listen to announcements. They're sometimes able to hear their children give these announcements, their children interviewing. They learn about what's happening around the community. So some schools are starting to do that. So these are options on how to use technology, websites, social media to really connect and inform parents. Now, I think that if you're just setting this up and you're just starting with social media, then you want to see who does it well. And one of the schools that I think does it well, and I have many examples. If you go to Peggy George inside the chat box shared my pearl trees, you'll see other examples, but I'm going to show you one example, which is New Milford High School. They have a Facebook and a Twitter account, and they do a really good job of informing parents and connecting with parents. So as you can see in their Facebook page, they have a map to the school. They have contact information, hours. They also have images, visuals. They have announcements here. They're announcing a barbecue. And on social media is a great way to inform parents of different types of news and updates. For example, today in Splendora, our high school or our schools, the whole district was closed. So how did we find out about that? They sent us a remind. So that was really nice, is that we were able to get a remind and then we didn't have to go to the school. And also the Facebook page, they actually have on their Facebook page where they make these announcements. So these kind of social networks can be very good to inform parents of different events. If you have a Twitter page, you can see here. So New Milford High School has two hashtags. They have New Milford High School, which is NMHS. A hashtag is a text with a number sign in front of it. And they have NM News. So they let you know what is the news. Then if you just want to see news, like for example, this morning, if you woke up and you thought, I want to know whether or not we have school today, you could click on that hashtag and you could see that news right away. They also put in a Google Doc student announcements, which is really nice because then you're able to see the announcements every day and they're recorded. And if you ever want to go back for a certain announcement, then the parents are able to do that. The other good thing is they use Google Doc. Google Docs is great for, also they have a translation feature, and I'll show you that in a little bit. They congratulate students, they put up events, and so they have a lot of really different types of news and stuff. Whoever runs their Twitter page does a really, really great job. I wanted to show you an example if you do decide to have an app. And once again, there are many websites that will have a template, or you can pick, even on WordPress, Weebly, Wix, all of those have mobile-friendly websites. So when you set up your website, you can look at it on an app on a mobile device, and it looks like it's mobile-friendly. I think that that's a much better option, but you can also use the free web tool WebMobi, and you can create an app. I believe that it's only for Android phones, free at the moment. You can also go a little bit deeper with the information and also with the informing of parents. You can have your own class website, your own class virtual learning environment, and also learning management system. The way you can do that is by setting up an account with any of these free places that offer a free area and private area to be able to connect with parents. And those are better places to be able to sometimes show student work and things like that, so you can protect the identity of parents. There's Edmodo, Schoology, ESL Plays, Google Classroom, PB Works, Haiku Learning, Moodle, EduBlocks. Those are just a few. And the reason I named these is because they're free and teachers highly recommend them. With a lot of these, you can post grades like in Edmodo and Schoology, Haiku Learning, Google Classroom, Moodle. All of those you can post grades. You can post also how a student's behavior and things like that, a calendar. They have different options. I'm going to show you an example of how I had a wiki with my language learners. Now this was for my young language learners, and this wiki served two different classes. I had my different age groups. So it had from 4 to 5 years old, and then it had another older kids class that was 6 to 10-year-olds. At the time, I was teaching 2-year-olds, and now these were for parents in Germany. Now, at the time, I decided not to do anything for my parents of the 2-year-olds. But this is the site I did have for the children. I chose the wiki, the PB Works, because it had a translation option. So it has where any of the pages could be translated. It has a translation bar. The bar is at the top of the page, and they could translate in different languages. So I thought that was a very nice feature. I also made a video tutorial. When they clicked on this, they saw how to navigate the site. So in case the translation was just incomprehensible, because of course I don't know all those languages, so I'm not sure if it translates it perfectly. And then I made it very easy. I put very simple links in the sidebar. So I tried not to put a lot of text. I try to make it very simple, user-friendly, especially when you have parents who are language learners. You don't want to have a lot of text. Unfortunately, there are a lot of websites out there for schools, and they have way too much text. When you do have a website or a virtual learning environment and parents are going to access it, then it's really important that you have multimedias and visuals. You make it very easy, intuitive to navigate. Make it look like other websites. Don't make it to where parents have to have all these flashy things and then they have to guess, oh, do I click here or do I click there? No, make it very easy to navigate. Also, where they have a screen tutorial or even a visual tutorial where you have arrows and things like that, really help parents to see whether or not where to go and how to direct them. So there are ways to engage parents to keep them coming back. Peggy George mentions inside the chat box adding photos of school activities. Definitely, if there's like a science fair, a STEM fair, a cultural fair, you have someone take pictures of that, even if it's on a mobile device or something. You usually want to get a photographer, someone from the photography club, as maybe somebody from the video club, to make these little nice, snapshots of that event and then post it up. So having those types of activities, events, announcements, whenever there's a play, whenever there's an award ceremony, whenever the kids are singing at the library or anything like that, you want to constantly have different announcements. You can have polls where you poll parents, for example, if you're choosing a class mascot, what would be a better mascot? You can poll parents for something simple like that. And it makes parents feel good because it makes them feel like they're contributing in some way. You can have a calendar of events, list different ways for parents to contribute. So for example, if you need a guest speaker, if you're looking for a mentor, if you're looking for books for your learning station, if you're looking for recycled goods for your makerspace, find ways to get parents to be able to help you out. Because if parents feel like they have a way to help out, then that could be very that will strengthen the relationship. Have a place where they can suggest submissions. Like for example, with my wiki, the parents were able to suggest what to have on the wiki. Then, for example, my wiki, the parents one of the suggestions was to have the lyrics and have videos of this songs we sing in the English class. So that's something I added to my wiki, and it was really great. It was a fantastic parent suggestion. If they have a secret place, to be able to suggest these things, you might get a few gripes and stuff. But the good thing is if it's a private place, then that's okay. Then, you can at least know what the parent's upset about. And that's a lot better than finding out all of a sudden at the end of the year or something, and they're yelling at you, because I've had that happen. So that's why I think these kind of ideas have worked out for me. recognizing different student achievements, even things like if they did a good deed, like you saw them help another student, or maybe they rescued an animal, or perhaps birthdays. That's a great thing to add onto a calendar as well. So it's important that we not only do academic or sports achievements, but we do all kinds of different achievements. Future Farmers of America, dance contests. We want to make sure that every kid shines in our classroom. There are ways that, so some of the parents work a lot and they're not able to physically be part of the class community or school community. So you can give them online ways to contribute, or ways to contribute that they don't have to be at the school, or but they can contribute in other ways. Ways are, if you have a parent newsletter, then have a parent corner, and each week, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. It's important that we use the terminology guardian. So if the child is staying with an aunt, an uncle, maybe they have, for example, foster parents or guardians, we can say guardian instead, and the guardian can contribute to the newsletter. You can have a student conduct an interview with a legal guardian or a family member and post that interview. This is one way they can ask them about their culture, their family history, their tree. Parents can share a recipe. They can share about their job, what it takes to do their job, what kind of skills. So there's always a lot of different ways that parents can contribute to an online newsletter. A podcast, you can interview a parent for a podcast, and they can talk about some great news. They can give good advice to other parents as well. And parents tend to like that too. Usually parents like when they can learn like a trick about babysitting, or a trick about even like a hobby or something like sewing or crafting, or maybe one of the parents knows about fitness and health. So, or tips on, anything like that is very good. You can also have where parents contribute to your class blog once a month. You can have a parent contribute that way, just some advice or tips, or how to make ice cream, how to make here we get a lot of my partner's mom is constantly sharing how to make things like silly putty for free, how to make it, and it turns out really good. Like, she has great recipes for learning and stuff, and so those are great for parents to try at home, different experiments and things like that. A calendar, you can have the parents contribute different events that they know of. So for me, I try to have at least every kind of sporting awards, banquets, tournaments, birthday, and that can be very hard to keep up with. So parents are good about sharing that. Sorry, I'm trying to talk through the thunder and lightning right now. There are many different parent communication tools and apps that I think are a must, that really go in a deeper level of engaging with parents. The ones that I use the most are Remind and Google Apps for Education. Remind is one of the best tools for working with parents. You can also use S'more, Class Dojo, and Selly. I only chose these 5. There's plenty of other ones, but the reason these 5 are the top ones for me is because they've been in existence for a very long time. So that means if you try a new tool, you never know if next year that's going to go away. These have been in existence for 3, 4, 5 years, even more in some cases. Also, a lot of teachers recommend them, and they have really just great ways to communicate with parents. So I know there's other apps out there, but I don't think that they are good as a long term. I haven't seen them stand the test of time. Remind. So I want to tell you about Remind. Remind is great for language learners and their parents because you can translate messages into over 70 languages. Isn't that awesome? So you could take the same message and you can send it to parents in different translations. That's kind of cool. You can also have where the parents don't have to have a smartphone. They can have a regular cell phone and they just receive texts from you. They can also respond back to you in a private way where it's almost like a messenger and you can talk back and forth unless they have any concerns or anything like that. And Remind is free. All the tools that I've shared with you have a free version, so that's important to note. If they do have a smartphone, they can download the app. It's very easy to use. It's really nice and wonderful, and it makes it really easy to make to have conversations with tons of parents at once. You can put a general announcement and then to hundreds, and then if they want to write a message back with a question or anything, then it's a private and it can go to you. And so then you can keep that private. I think that's really good because I don't think that we should be having conversations on social media. So, for example, on Facebook, Twitter, that's not the place to have a conversation with a parent, especially the parent is irate. It's better to have it in a very private forum like Remind or an email conversation. I think that that's much better. So that way, if any kind of legal issue comes up or any kind of problem exists, then you can show these private messages to your director. And so I think I would not recommend being Facebook friends with parents unless you have a very professional account and all you do is professional, because I think that has actually gotten quite a few teachers in the US fired. So I think it's more important to be able to hold those conversations on something like a Remind or an email. That's the place to have those conversations if you can't have them in person. The other thing that I think is really good is to have where you can send newsletters. You can send newsletters with S'more. S'more allows you to add pictures and it allows you to have links and also make it very nice and friendly, and videos as well. You can use Google Apps for Education. That has saved me tons of time with messaging parents. Now, one of the ones that I use a lot is Formule. Formule is a way to send 100 parents the same type of email, and it's a script. So I'm going to share with you a way to be able to do this, okay? But once you learn it, it's maybe a little difficult to comprehend at first, but once you learn it, it will save you tons and tons of time. Thank you, Peggy, for sharing that. And so here we have templates, Google templates, and with Google templates you can find all kinds of parent information. You can find parent letters and surveys. All you do is you click use this template and then you edit it any way you want. So those parent forms are already there for you. Parent conference forms, when you have a parent-teacher conference, a parent volunteer form. So all kinds of ways to communicate with parents, and they've already created it for you. You just put in your information. Here was a really good one, which is called a parent progress letter. And this one is great because you can put the parent address. You can actually print out physical on Google Docs. It allows you to print out a physical letter to mail to parents. Sometimes you have to do that if parents don't have access to the internet, for those that don't. The great thing is that with this parent letter or something that you send home, a flyer or anything like that, if you use Google Docs, if you use Google Apps for Education, Google, then you're able to translate the document. What I usually do is add a sentence that says at the beginning, I'm sorry, this is not a perfect translation. I use Google Translate. And then usually what I'll do is I'll get another student, maybe that I trust, that knows the language, to fix it for me. So I created this particular form. It's I'll go ahead and share it, and you can make a copy of it. And this is how you can get your students, the parents' email, You can get whether or not they want to, their cell phone number, whether or not they want to be sent remind messages, and everything you need to be able to use the tools, the free tools that I shared with you, and how to set it up for the school year. You can edit this form any way you want. So I just made the template, and then you can go back and you can translate it if you want. You can do whatever you want with this form. It's yours to use. And so I use this Google Parent form. And once you collect the emails, you can use this form with Formule. And that's where you can send parent letters, and you can be able to send many, many different emails all at once. You can send the same, and it'll put in that parent's name for you. It'll put in their child's name for you, and a lot of different information. So I think that that's really just a wonderful way. If you use Forms, Google Forms plus Formule, that is one of the best ways to communicate with parents. So I'm going to put that in the chat box so you can learn about that, because it saves you tons and tons of times when sending parent emails and letters. So some considerations. When you're thinking of which of these tools is going to work for you, the big question is whether you teach very young learners or do you teach learners that are 13 years old and older. And the reason why I say that is because privacy and security becomes a big issue with children that are 13 years and younger. A lot of social networks, if you, for example, some people want to have a Facebook page or a Facebook group with the parents. I highly do not recommend that. There are other tools that I've shared with you today made for educators and education. But if you're going to do that, then it's important that you realize that the children have to be 13 years old and older. In one particular one, there was, for example, where a teacher, he had it with his kindergarten students and they made him take it off. So you risk that if you do not use the right tool for the age, the appropriate age. What is the purpose? If you're making, for example, a newsletter, then you would want to use something like S'more. If, for example, you want to have a class blog, then you'd use something like EduBlogs or KidBlog. Or if you wanted to have, for example, a private place to post grades and kind of do everything, then you're going to use Google Classroom, Edmodo, Schoology. So, and I think Remind is one of those things that you have in addition, and Remind is just a great way to communicate with parents in general, to send different class notifications, messages, things like that. To get parents used to the technology you're using, to even show them how to use it with their phones and communicate well, have a parent workshop. Do it with more than one teacher. Have a team of teachers host this workshop. And have your parents sign what's called an acceptable use or responsible use policy. What that does is it tells them what kind of technology you're going to use, how you are protecting their children, what their children are allowed to bring into the classroom, if they're allowed to bring in their own devices, whether they have devices already for them, whether they're allowed to use the internet. They give them all of these the school rules of how technology is used at the school. The parent signs it, the student signs it, and the parent also will say what they allow. I allow my child's picture to be up. I do not allow my child's picture to be up. I allow my child's projects to be posted on social networks for the school. I do not allow my child's projects to be used for promotional reasons. So all of that should be in a document that parents sign. Some people will tell you no. I think that it is really important to get parent permission, because you will be able to save a lot of headaches from fights or even legal ramifications. So I think it's good to always have this in a document available. You will find some examples when you go to shellyterrell.com/parents. I have tons of examples of acceptable use and responsible use policies. So some suggestions for your tech shop when you're working with more than one teacher, then you have the ability to have daycare or some way, have one of the teachers or two of the teachers, they can be with the students. They can either share a movie, they can take them to a maker space, they can have an area where they're with learning stations and maybe playing games and things like that. A way to where the children are taken care of and are watched while the parents are in your session. That way you don't have a bunch of kids running around trying to get the parents' attention, because kids get bored. So I think it's good to have that for the kids while the parents are there. Serve food. A lot of times the parents are a lot of times the parents are busy, or they're taking time out of their dinner. They're not going to have time to cook. They're going to be so tired after work. So these ensure ways that more parents are able to attend. And for those that are not able to attend, then record the presentation. You don't have to record the actual parents there or them asking questions. You can just record the actual presentation, put it online, and let the rest of the parents know. Now that you have their text and everything like that, you can text them the link to it so they can be able to watch that and benefit even if they weren't there. Let the parents play with the tech toys. If you're going to use Storybird, let them play with, have a computer that has Storybird already open, or an iPad or something you can pass around. That's usually what I do. I have my iPad and I pass it around with the different websites so parents can just play with them. And then they're more comfortable letting their children use those sites because they've already played with them and they think, wow, this is a great learning tool for my child. It's important to also have icebreakers so parents get to know each other. They feel comfortable with you, and that builds relationships. I have plenty of icebreakers. If you go to shellyterrell.com/icebreakers that you can use with parents that take 1 minute, 2 minutes, some even with technology. Welcome back. So if you're using a tool like Edmodo, Remind, any of these tools, if you write them and you ask them, hey, I'm going to have a parent workshop, would you be able to donate coffee cups, pins, anything that I can give parents so I can make like a welcome bag? A lot of these tech companies will do that. They will actually donate like that kind of stuff so you can give parents with that technology workshop you hold. And it's important that if parents have any questions or anything, do a follow-up. Make sure that the parents are able to come and that you attend back to their questions, that if they ask you anything, oh, does it do this or that, that you go back and then even on a remind or something like that, or an email, just let them know quite quickly, hey, I remember you asking this question. Or all the parents that attended, take that attendee list and make sure to mail them back and say, look, these are the things we played with. This is what we do. Give them the itinerary and thank them for attending. And even ask them, what would be things you would like to see, and would you like to meet again in 3 months, 4 months, and things like that. Some more parent resources, you can share this with parents regularly, that I think is really, really great, is that you could be able to have the parents, they're going to need some information on how to raise their kids digitally smart. And I think that's so important for parents to have conversations with kids, to limit their technology use, to make them responsible in their technology use. And if you give parents resources to do this, then that behavior is going to show in your classroom. The kids are going to be better digital citizens in your classroom. So it's great to take this time to show parents. A lot of parents just don't know. They don't understand or know how to have those conversations. So these tools make it easier. Raising Digital Kids, it's a wiki full of great presentation on how to raise kids in a digital age. It's made by David Truss, who was from Canada but had a school in China as well for many years. And it has different types of resources for parents. One of my favorites is from Fossey. Fossey has these parent-child conversation cards. What it does is it gives a definition of what the topic is, being a responsible online. They can print these out. It's a free PDF. They print them out, and then they just put the card on the table. the child or the parent can read the definition, and then this is the question that is proposed to the child. What in the blue box that has a conversation? So what do you do when you see behavior or content online that is inappropriate? So then the child has to answer that. It may seem kind of cheesy and stuff, but this really can help. This is one of the main factors that helps a child become a great digital citizen. This is what helps prevent bullying. This is what helps prevent fighting online, posting inappropriate pictures for children to post inappropriate pictures. It also helps with children to not visit terrible sites. And it's something it also helps them not to speak to strangers. So it could really, these conversation cards could save that child's life. So I think it's really important. You can even have those conversation cards and have parents role play in your parent ed tech workshop. You can also have parents listen to podcasts on digital parenting. It's a digital parenting course that Carl Hooker helped create. It's on iTunes, but you can your parents can use this as well. They can listen to this. They can watch it on YouTube as well. They can listen on iTunes. They can listen to it on a podcast on their way to work and stuff. And the parents are going to be so thankful that you shared this information with them, because it really, really can help save their child's life. There's so many times I've told parents and talked with them and said, you really need to see what your child is doing on their phone, on their computer. And the parent at first will be hesitant, and they'll say, but how about the privacy? And I always remind them that the privacy issue, that it is more important the life issue. And there have been many times when the parent checks and thanks me because they found something really alarming, like their child was talking to an adult, their child was posting pictures that were inappropriate, their child was bullying or being bullied, and it really helped them. So I think these resources are very important to share with parents. You can find lots of forums and many, many different ways to communicate with parents that are more colorful and lively. If you go to Pinterest, Pinterest has tons, like thousands of forums to use with parents. Peggy George has shared the Pinterest link with you in the chat box. And that's where I find a lot. Some of them you have to pay for, but a lot of times I'll just look and I'll go ahead and I can do my own template from them as well. So that's an option you can do. Or they're not very expensive on Teachers Pay Teachers. You also have the archives. So PT Chat was a parent-teacher chat on Twitter. It no longer exists, but you can still benefit from the archives. They have them all the way from 2011. I was one of the first founders of Parent-Teacher Chat in 2011. It no longer exists. It ended in 2015, but they have all these conversations. So if you have a problem and you're not really sure, what to do with parents, just search this archive and you're going to find a lot of ideas from parents and teachers. Thank you so much for attending today. I hope you have a great, great weekend. And if you need any of the resources, the slides, anything, go to shellyterrell.com/parent or go to youtube.com/user/TESOL. You can type in the search box any kind of topic and you'll find a video for it of a webinar we've done. So we will see you next week, and thank you so much for attending.